All right. Yeah, we have now started recording. We started the Facebook stream, and seeing as how it is now 7 o'clock and we have a lot of business today, I'm going to call this meeting of the 43rd District Democrats to order. It's really great to be here with you. Thanks so much for joining us. I know it's been a couple months since our last meeting in July. I hope folks had a chance to rest and recharge after the primary in August. We're looking forward to hearing from a bunch of really great candidates tonight and making our endorsements for the September general election. So to get us started, we're going to start with our land acknowledgement with Bryce Colton is going to be reading that for us. Bryce, go ahead.
Although we are all joining virtually tonight, we'd like to start this event acknowledging that we stand on the stolen land of Native people. It is important to recognize that this land was taken from its original caretakers and then degraded to meet the needs of European settlers. I want us to honor the nations and their land. In the 43rd, we are on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people, the Stillaguamish, and the Coast Salish, past and present. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the original tribal stewards of this land. Please take a moment to reflect on any nations you know who cared for this land or the land you grew up on. Do you know whose land you occupy and have occupied? If not, here's a helpful map, native-land.ca.
Yeah, thank you, Bryce. Really appreciate that. So moving on, we're going to go really quickly through our general meeting operations and norms. I think many of you are accustomed to Zoom meetings now, but good refresher course in case you haven't joined a 43rd meeting before. If you need to seek the floor for any reason, please use the raise your hand reaction. That will move your name to the top of our participants list so we can see you and call you. You aren't able to unmute yourself, but Cass, our meetings chair, will be helping folks get unmuted when I recognize you. So if we need to take a quick vote, we might do that using our reactions, the yes, the green yes, and the red no. Typically, we'll only be using those for the same sort of things we vote on using a really brief show of hands, things like to extend debate or otherwise. All of our endorsement votes tonight will be via your voting codes and Google Forms. So we do have our general chat disabled, but if you need help, please message one of our co-hosts. If you're having issues participating in the meeting, please message Cassandra Henning, our meetings chair, and she'll be able to help get you started there. And if you need help getting your voting code, now's a really good time to do that. We have another 10 minutes before we start endorsements or so. Please send an email to tally@43rddemocrats.org. We have folks monitoring that email who are able to help you, or reach out to Bryce Colton, whose name starts with voting code help, and Tara Gallagher and Cody Olson are also helping with that. With that, we are streaming this on live stream on Facebook. Sorry, the stream should be there. If you want to participate in a general chat about the meeting, you can do so there. Going through our meeting norms really quickly, we have been doing a really good job at these lately, and I really appreciate it. So first one is to treat each other with dignity and respect. We are all here for many of the same reasons. We might disagree on the candidates we're supporting or the exact way to get there, but we're all worthy of respect and really appreciate the folks who have done a good job of keeping our meetings respectful. If you don't know what's going on, please ask. We want everybody to be able to participate in our meetings. I know they can be a little intimidating for newcomers. We want to make sure everybody is on the same page. And if you have a question, you're probably not the only one. So please don't hesitate to ask. Step up, step back. If you are finding yourself talking, on every debate we have, maybe that's a good chance to step back and let some others participate. And if you have not spoken, during this meeting or past meetings, we really would love to hear from you. So the floor is open to everybody here, and our organization is stronger the more folks speak up. Please remember that everybody here is a volunteer. We are doing our best to make these meetings run smoothly. Sometimes we make mistakes, or Zoom messes us up, or otherwise. So we're all trying. Please have patience, and we'll try and get through this meeting as smoothly as we can. And the last point is that together we share a responsibility for staying on time. We're going to do our best to get you all out by 9 p.m. tonight, but we do have a really packed agenda, which we want to get through. So I just want to say, please, if you have a concern, bring it up. If there's something we need to discuss, bring it up. But please just keep in mind that we have a limited time, and so we think before you speak. That's all I want to say there. So thanks for that. The last bit of our meeting guidance is Robert's Rules of Order. For those that don't know, it's a set of parliamentary procedures that we use to run our meetings, just like many of the other Democratic Party orgs in Washington State. You don't need to know Robert's Rules to participate in our meetings. Raise your hand and we will help you figure out how to do what you're asking to do. Most of it is pretty simple. So moving to approve or amend or postpone something. Again, just reiterating what I said earlier, you have a right to participate as a full member in our meetings. If you need us to explain what's going on, what we're voting on, what the effects of choice A versus choice B are, please do raise your hand so we can clarify that for you. The last bit here is for our parliamentary rock stars on the call, and I know we have a few. Please just keep in mind that this is not the place to show off your knowledge of Robert's Rules front and back. We want our meetings to be as inclusive as possible. And so really appreciate your help in making sure that we don't get bogged down in Robert's Rules debates, and instead, keep moving forward and having the important discussions we're all here to have. So thanks so much for that. Wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. With that, we will go to our agenda. It is on my screen here. We are going to start with the Fundraising Committee report. Then we're going to get into endorsements. Then we have a bunch of really great committee reports, and then some resolutions. And we will end our meeting tonight with an overview of the new redistricting maps that came out today that will change the layout of the 43rd. So things are going to be changing next year, and we don't necessarily know exactly how, but we'll get an overview of those and how folks can comment on the draft maps that were released today. So with that, I need to get my participants list up. We have 100 folks. Great, I love it. Great to see the turnout. Is there any objection to approving this agenda? If you have an objection, please raise your hand. We will get that taken care of. That just goes for the rest of the meeting. Any objection to approving our agenda? Any objection? All right, seeing none, we have our agenda approved. And is there any corrections to our July meeting minutes? They're linked in the agenda. I'm realizing we should share the agenda out, so I will do that for you all. The agenda is there. Any corrections to our July meeting minutes? The big vote we took in July was to open a political action committee for the 43rd, and you'll get an update on that very shortly here. All right, hearing no corrections to the minutes, we have adopted our July meeting minutes. And we will move on to our fundraising committee report. I'm not seeing Dawn. Are you in the meeting right now?
She was having trouble getting in. I think she may be in a minute.
Okay, great. Well, I can get started with that, and then Dawn was going to handle the second part. And actually, really quickly, because we had a few people ask us before the meeting, Annabelle, could you share the link to the voting forms really quickly for the folks who were going to have to vote and then head out?
Yes, I will share the link, but if you want to type it yourself, you can get it to it at 43rddems.org/endorsements. But let me cut and paste. There you go.
Great. So if folks do have to vote early and head out, you can do so there. For our fundraising committee report, please, if someone on the board could let me know if Don is able to join, that would be great, but otherwise I will handle it from here. In July and August, the board has spent a lot of time getting us set up with a political action committee. We'll have more details on the reports there. But many of you have gotten an email from us that we are now trying to raise funds to print literature for our endorsed candidates. So we are together founding a 43rd District Democrats PAC. We have started a fundraiser in order to allow us to, equip our PCOs and our volunteers to really get out the word about our endorsed candidates. Really appreciate all of the folks who have stepped up already. We need your help. So our endorsements, they matter in these races. These are going to be very close races. For the I'm getting a message that Don can't get in because the meeting is at capacity. That is odd. Annabelle, can you work on that for us?
I can see what I can do.
Okay, I'm concerned that if Don can't get in, there are probably other folks also not able to get in. So we will work on that. Something is going on with our Zoom account. So this is where I ask you all for your help so that we can support our endorsed candidates. You can do so by becoming a 43rd PAC founder here. I really quickly want to acknowledge all of our current PAC founders. I am seeing your comment, Kyle. We will get to it very shortly. So really want to thank the folks who have stepped up to join us already. Your support means a lot. Our board has worked really hard to get this set up, and I truly appreciate it. So Amy, Sally, Tara, Ellen, Sarah, Brian, and Paula, Representative Frank Schott, Chuck, Leroy, Shelley, Harriet, Nina, Peter, James, Sharon, and Peter. Really appreciate your support as sponsors. And then I appreciate our other founding members, Andrew, Andy, Jason, Janice, Allison, Aaron, Enrico, Jim, Maddie, Derek, and Justin. Thanks so much for your support. I really appreciate it. All of us appreciate it. And with that, we will get to we will move on to endorsements, but I also want to make sure everybody's able to join the meeting. Annabelle, do you have any updates for us there?
Not as yet, but I should in a couple of minutes, hopefully.
Yes, thank you folks who are messaging us about folks unable to get into the meeting. I understand that is a problem. We won't take any endorsement votes or move forward to that point without letting other folks in. We are working on it, and hopefully we'll have that resolved pretty soon. What I'm trying to think if it makes sense to start going through our endorsement rules just so we can get folks who are here up to speed. If we can have folks watch on the live stream for right now. And thanks, folks. Nathan, I see your message. I appreciate that. So I think it makes sense for now to keep moving while we can. I think this will get sorted, and we will pause before we get to actual candidate endorsements. So for those who are in the meeting or watching the meeting on Facebook, the way our endorsements work are pretty simple. The positions that are up for an endorsement vote tonight are the ones where we did not endorse in the primary election. So now we'll be endorsing in the general election. And then the ones on our slate are races that weren't on our ballot in the primary election. The way our endorsements votes work, we'll open the floor for nominations. Each candidate can be nominated by a 43rd member. We'll then, once both candidates have been nominated, we will close nominations. We will have, each candidate will have 2 minutes to speak themselves or to share with someone introducing them, or another representative from their campaign can also use those 2 minutes. A few folks aren't able to join us tonight, so they'll have representatives speaking. After the candidates have spoken, we will share the voting forms for everybody. You'll all use your voting codes, and then we'll leave the voting form open for around 10 minutes or so. After 10 minutes, everybody should have had enough time to vote. We will close it. If at that point, Annabelle will tally, Annabelle is chairing our tally committee tonight. Annabelle will tally all of the votes and will share those results with us. Candidates need to be approved on 60% or more of ballots in order to be endorsed by the 43rd District Democrats. I think this is a little less relevant tonight than it is in the primary, but you are allowed, okay, I'm seeing we have broken 100 people now, so hopefully that has been resolved. And if you all know folks who need to join, maybe ask them to retry again. What I was saying though is that you can vote for multiple candidates, or you can vote for no endorsement. A no endorsement vote means that you don't want us to endorse either candidate that's eligible. And if you vote for both, obviously you're saying that you think we should endorse both candidates. So we'll total it up. Candidates that receive over 60% will be endorsed by the 43rd. If on the off chance that one candidate receives over 40% and another candidate does not, then we would hold a reconsideration where we vote on just that candidate. But otherwise, if the votes are split 50-50 or 45-55, that will be it. There will only be one round of voting. So those are our endorsement rules. Annabelle, can you confirm that we are good on the meeting capacity?
So I increased our capacity through Zoom for the meeting. I cannot guarantee that actually takes effect immediately, but since we're over 100 participants and climbing, it looks like we should be good.
Okay. Yep. I do think that we're good. If folks are still know people who aren't able to make it into the meeting, please have them message Annabelle, and we can go in there. Okay, there are a couple candidates who need to get going, so I want to get started and dive into our endorsements process. So the first race that we have up is the Seattle City Council position 9. So with that, I will open the floor for nominations for Seattle City Council position 9. Please raise your hand if you have a nomination to make. All right, Jeff.
I would like to nominate Nikita Oliver.
Okay, Nikita Oliver has been nominated. Do we have another nomination? All right, I see Andy.
I'd like to nominate Sarah Nelson.
Okay, great. Sarah Nelson has been nominated as well. Okay, so with that, we will go to speeches. There'll be an order of nomination. So Nikita Oliver is up first. So Cass, if you could help me spotlight Nikita and unmute, and then spotlight the timer, that'd be great. All right. Hi, Nikita. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm so sorry I'm on my cell phone. We have another forum that starts in a few minutes. My name is Nikita Oliver. I use they, them pronouns. I am a resident of the Rainier Beach neighborhood, and I work in the Central District of Seattle. I am an attorney by trade, a grassroots community organizer, a professor at Seattle University School of Law, an adjunct professor. And I've worked on the front lines of many of the crises that we're facing in our city. I believe that it's time that we have electeds that are committed to meeting these crises with solutions that are commensurate with the need. We need to start responding to the housing affordability and state of emergency around homelessness with upstream solutions to keep folks from ever entering homelessness. We need to provide short-term and midterm mitigation through hoteling, tiny house villages, and basic need supports for our residents without homes, and we need to stop sweeps. We need to be responding to the catastrophe in front of us, the climate catastrophe, by ending exclusionary zoning, building density and workforce housing, and having a free transportation system that is connected, rapid, and high capacity and accessible for all residents of our city. And we need progressive revenue generation. We cannot continue to build our city on the backs of workers and those who have the least income when we have more billionaires per capita than almost any other city in the United States. Corporations and the wealthy should be paying their fair share to see our city be a place that is inclusive and welcoming to all people. And through the progressive revenue tax force, the city has already identified sources that we could be using to be responding to the housing affordability crisis, the state of emergency around homelessness, the need for transportation for all, and building a city that actually meets the basic needs of residents rather than policing and criminalizing them for poverty that we have allowed to run rampant. I am endorsed by the MLK Labor Council, the Urbanists, the Stranger, many grassroots organizations, the 11th Legislative District, and I believe that we can build a coalition of progressives across our city, from Democrats to third party, who share the values of building a city that is truly accessible for everyone, serves the basic needs, sees housing as a human right, and it's going to require having electeds that have the political will to achieve this. I hope that y'all will consider endorsing me as we move forward through the general election.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nikita. Really appreciate you joining us. Okay, and so up next is Sarah Nelson, and I believe that Sarah's campaign manager, Nathan Winch, is here to represent Sarah.
Hi, this is Nathan, Sarah's campaign manager. Sarah regrets that she's not able to attend. She's at the same forum and just preparing for the debate. So I just wanted to read a very brief statement for her. Sarah is a lifelong Democrat with real progressive values when it comes to the issues that we care about as Seattleites. Sarah supports housing first policy when it comes to addressing housing and homelessness. She understands the need to create a pipeline to well-paying jobs for many of the city's underrepresented groups. And lastly, when it comes to policing, Sarah has earned the endorsement of police reform leaders like Reverend Harriet Walden, founder of Mothers for Police Accountability, and Victoria Beach, African American Community Advisory Council Chair, for her progressive and pragmatic approach to police reform. So I understand many people here probably have already made up their minds, but just know that if and when Sarah is elected to represent as a council member, that she'll represent everyone in the city and all of our needs. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Nathan. Really appreciate it. Okay, so with that, those are our two candidates. So Annabelle, if you could share the form for voting on the position 9 race, that would be great. And folks can look up their codes and submit their votes. Again, if you need help with your voting code, please email tally@fortherdemocrats.org or message Bryce or Cody or Tara. They're all marked as voting code help, and they will help get you sorted out. So want to give folks 5 minutes or so to vote, especially since this is our first one. So we will pick endorsements back up again right around 7:32 or so. If you have a question about voting, raise your hand and we can try and address it. Otherwise, message those folks for your voting code. And I'll just remind our tally committee members who are doing all this work, remember to vote yourself. And the ballot is in the chat for everybody. Yep, and just to say, I see some folks are still waiting to get their codes, so we'll keep the ballot open until folks get their codes. So we're going to give it a few more minutes so that folks with their codes can vote, and then I think just to keep the meeting moving, we'll get started on the slate and more speeches, but we'll keep the ballot open until we get those issues resolved. Thanks, everybody. Carl, I've messaged you the ballot a couple times. Do you see it in your chat? It's the link there. All right, gonna give just another minute before we get started on the slate. Thanks everybody for your patience as we got things sorted earlier during this meeting. I really apologize to the folks who were locked out because we hit meeting capacity temporarily. And thanks to the folks working behind the scenes to get that figured out. So really glad everyone's with us tonight and that we have such a big crowd that we hit meeting capacity. So thanks so much. Toby, could you direct that question to the voting code folks and they'll help get you started. So we'll leave this ballot open while we get these last few folks their codes. But Sam McVitie, our elections chair, do you want to walk us through the slate really quickly?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. Can you present or should I go ahead and do that?
I can present real quick. Give me just a second. All right, can you all see my screen now? I think we may have muted Sam again.
Ah, yes, perfect. Yep, we can see your screen. It is the agenda.
Great.
Yeah, so to just talk through the slate quickly. So first we have the advisory votes. We still have advisory votes. We can thank Tim Eyman for these. We suggest that you approve all of them. It's basically just a road bump in making our democracy less functional. And the next is King County Charter Amendments 1 and 2. So these are largely mechanical ones and checking with folks on the council that this is not a bad charter amendment. These are just minor sort of upkeep to the King County Charter. And then finally, Brandon Hershey for Seattle School District is the only candidate who submitted a questionnaire and would be an excellent addition to our school board. So we suggest you endorse him as well.
Great, thank you, Sam. So the way we handle our slate is that it only takes one person in order to pull somebody from the slate, in which case we would have a bigger, or have a vote on that race specifically. So I will, while I leave the slate up here, I will ask if there is anybody who would like to pull one of these races from the slate for individual consideration. And if we don't pull anybody, which I actually expect, then we'll just approve these by unanimous consent. Is there anybody who would like to pull a race from the slate? And one more time, I will ask if there's anybody who would like to pull a race from the slate. All right, seeing none. Is there any objection to approving this slate of recommended endorsements? Is there? Yes, Arvia.
Oh, hi. I just would really love to just hear a few words from Brandon. I don't not necessarily pull him from the slate, but just to get to know him better.
Yes, we absolutely will hear from Brandon one way or the other. Really glad he's joining us today. I guess the question is, do you want to pull him from the slate, or are you okay endorsing before we hear from him?
I'm okay with endorsing, but it would be nice to hear from him.
Okay, yep, we absolutely will. So thanks for that call out. All right, and then last call, anybody would like to pull one of these races from the slate? Okay, seeing none, we have approved all of these endorsements. Thank you, Sam, for putting this slate together. And thank you, school board member Brandon Hershey, for joining us, and congratulations on your endorsement. It would be great to hear a few words from you.
Oh, it would be my absolute pleasure. Can you all hear me okay?
We can, yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to chat with y'all tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brandon Hershey, like the candy bar without the second H. I'm originally from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I'm the son of an educator, the grandson of an educator, and my sister is a vice principal at the high school where we attended in Mississippi and where my mom taught AP US history, government, and civics before she passed away. For the past 5 years, I've been working in the Federal Way Public School District while being resident of Rainier Beach in South Seattle as a second grade teacher, right? And before that, was a policy analyst in the Department of Health and Human Services during the Obama administration. I had the pleasure of succeeding former Director Betty Patu, and I have served on the school board since 2019, right before the pandemic hit. And man, what a year it has been. I am just incredibly excited about the fact that we are back in schools. Our educators have the opportunity to teach our students in classrooms together, but it is not lost on me that we still have a ton of work to do. We have to make sure that our buildings remain safe. We have to make sure that we are doing everything to protect our educators and our students from this rapidly spreading and mutating virus. And most importantly, we have a ton of work to do in terms of closing the opportunity gap. I'm really proud of the work that the board and I have accomplished. If you haven't seen some of the things that we have been able to lift up in the past few months, while still governing through a pandemic, we've been able to lift up the first participatory budgeting initiative. We've been able to remove police from schools as well as firearms. We have also been able to add 3 to 7 new student members to our board. And I am also proud to say that we are opening up our legislative agenda and utilizing our lobbyists to give preference and to give a say to community members all throughout our city. I am so thankful to have your support, and I look forward to working with you and coming back and visiting and the next opportunity. And just really thank you for all of the support that you have given us, the school district, and thank you for entrusting us with your children. We are going to make sure that we deliver on the promises that we've set out, especially for those students furthest away from educational justice. So again, I look forward to coming back and chatting with y'all a little bit more. Thank you for your time tonight, and I will let y'all get on with the rest of the endorsements.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brandon. Really appreciate the work you're doing, and congratulations on your endorsement. So great. So with that, we will move on. Actually, I'm waiting for an update here from our tally committee. Let's see. So, okay, we have one more person that we're getting a code for. So we'll leave the position 9 race open for these next few speeches, and we will move faster through the next ones once once everybody's got their code. So up next, we have our endorsements for Seattle Mayor. There are 2 candidates who made it through the primary, Lorena Gonzalez and Bruce Harrell. And so I will open up the floor for nominations. All right, Ace.
Hi, I move to nominate Lorena Gonzalez for mayor of Seattle.
All right, thank you very much. Lorena Gonzalez has been nominated. Is there another nomination out there? Another nomination. All right, Arvia.
I nominate Bruce Harrell.
Great, thank you, Arvia. So with that, both candidates have been nominated. So we will hear first from City Council President Lorena Gonzalez.
There we go. I'll lower my hand now.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. We've been doing this so long. We figured out the raise the hand feature. So good evening, everyone. It is so good to be here with you once again. As a lifelong Democrat, I know that the gap between the rich and the rest of us makes living in Seattle far too hard for too many of us. Housing and rent are too expensive. Wages are simply not keeping up with rising costs, and our working families suffer when our city doesn't live up to what we know it can be, its full potential. We need to ensure, quite frankly, that wealthy corporations finally pay their fair share so we can solve our most urgent needs. I'm running for mayor to bring Seattle together to build a city of safe, livable neighborhoods where essential services are available to all within a 15-minute walk, bus, or bike ride as a key strategy to reducing our carbon emissions. Together, I know we can solve homelessness by addressing the root causes, poverty and income inequality. That's why my plan focuses on rapidly building affordable housing while providing services to help the unhoused restart their lives. I'll demilitarize the police, hold bad cops accountable, and expand the civilian community service officer program to improve public safety. And I'm committed to being a climate justice mayor to ensure a sustainable future for us all. From bringing the council together to enact sensible gun safety laws to helping Seattle small businesses and families survive the pandemic, I'm a proven progressive with a record I'll build on as mayor with your endorsement. I'm a proud first generation, a first-time mom. I started working in the fields of Central Washington at the young age of 8 years old, and my work has not ended. I am ready to be the next mayor to put my civil rights experience and my relationships with the council to work for the people of this city. That's why I've earned the endorsements of progressive Democrats across the city, like Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, Representative Nicole Macri, many members of the 43rd District Democrats, including Andrew Grant Houston, AKA ACE, and environmental organizations, plus almost every major labor union representing tens and thousands of essential workers along community leaders and small business owners. I hope to earn your endorsement as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Councilmember Gonzalez. All right, and then up next, representing Bruce Harrell's campaign is Monisha Harrell. We will get Monisha set up here.
Thank you for that. My name is Monisha Harrell. I am the eldest niece of Bruce Harrell, who's running for mayor. He sends his regrets for not being able to make it tonight. He is participating in a previously scheduled mayoral forum. I'm extremely proud to represent Bruce tonight at the 43rd. My childhood home is in the 43rd, and Bruce is a lifelong Democrat whose first home as a voting Democrat in 1977 was the 43rd as a student at the University of Washington. I want to use my privilege to briefly talk about a couple of pieces of legislation that are actually my favorites from Bruce's career with the city council. The one that actually has meant the most to me is his work he sponsored to remove the trans healthcare restrictions from the Seattle healthcare policies. This occurred in the summer of 2011. So if you think about this being 10 years ago, this was 3 years before we would have those restrictions removed in the state of Washington. And this was the first municipality, Bruce was the sponsor of the first municipality to remove the trans healthcare restrictions from our healthcare codes, and really set the standard for the way that we could move that legislation forward as a state. He also was responsible and the sponsor for Seattle's Ban the Box legislation in 2013. So if you think about this, there was a lot of heat that he took even from our most progressive friends around this Ban the Box legislation. And it was the right thing to do, and it was the thing to help people get back on their feet after having made a mistake or two and serving their time to get back into the community. And I'll say that this was 5 years before Washington would pass the Fair Chance Act in 2018. I will also talk about the Great Student Initiative in the fall of 2011 that provided all low-income students a computer and high-tech internet access for $10 a month. This again, 2011, and we're talking about the need for high-speed broadband right now. He was ahead of his time, and I hope you will support him for mayor as he continues his good work.
Yeah, thanks so much, Monisha. Really appreciate it. All right. Oops, I just muted myself. So those are the two candidates for Seattle Mayor, Lorena Gonzalez and Bruce Harrell. Annabelle, if you could share the ballot for Mayor, that would be fantastic.
Sure, one moment. There it is.
All right,
and we are ready with results for City Council position 9.
Okay, give us 1 minute on that, and then
right.
we'll do that while folks are voting. The form for Seattle mayor is now in the chat. You can find it there. Again, you can vote for as many of the candidates as you like, or no endorsement. And we will again leave this open for about 5 minutes. We'll probably do we'll get the results from City Council position 9, and then we'll hear speeches for our next race, and then we'll see if we can get results from the mayor's race there. So if you need help finding your voting code, again, email tally@43rddemocrats.org or message one of the folks listed as voting code help in the participants list. All right, with that, Annabelle, if you are ready to share results for position 9, we can do that now.
Great. Let me just bring that up on my screen here. Okay, for City Council position 9, we received 110 ballots, 82 for Nikita Oliver, 74.55%, 20 for Sarah Nelson, 18.18%, 8 for no endorsement, 7.27%. So Nikita Oliver clears the 60% threshold and wins the endorsement of the 43rd District Democrats.
All right, thank you, Annabelle, and congratulations to Nikita and her campaign for earning our endorsement. I know that they are in a forum right now, but I'm sure that word will get to them later tonight. So, all right, thank you all. You should now still be voting on Seattle Mayor. We will leave that open for another few minutes. But I do want to keep us moving. I know some of our candidates here have other events going on, as you all have seen already. So with that, we will open up nominations for King County Executive. There are 2 candidates. One is current King County Executive Dow Constantine, and then State Senator from the 34th LD Joe Nguyen. So with that, I will open nominations, and I already see a hand up. So Jesse Murray.
Hi, I would like to nominate Joe Nguyen.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Joe Nguyen has been nominated. And is there another nomination? All right, Andy.
I'd like to nominate Dow Constantine.
Okay, thanks for that. Dow Constantine has been nominated. So with that, we will go to speeches. And again, if candidates have folks that are speaking for them, just message me. But otherwise, we will go to you all. So I'm unmuting Joe now.
Perfect.
Awesome. Hello.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Apologize. I'm running between events as well. So safely parked in my car, but wanted to make sure that I joined. Look, I'm Senator Joe Nguyen, and thank you so much for the time this evening. And the reason why I'm running for office is because, candidly, I'm impatient. In the past few months, we've experienced record temperatures, smoke from extreme wildfires, worsening inequities that have further exacerbated the homelessness crisis, including a failure to distribute hundreds of millions of dollars in much needed relief. We deserve better. We deserve more, and we deserve leaders who will step up and do the work. We need leaders who won't just blame other people for problems that they candidly help create or wait for the next career opportunities. We need leaders who will fight for the future of what our democracy could and should look like. This is a pivotal moment that requires bold action and leadership, and we have an opportunity to define our future. And the very fact that I'm running in this race shows that I'm unafraid of tackling big issues. And we cannot wait around for the status quo to solve the problems that have been impacting us for decades. Especially, they won't be solved by people who helped create them as well. We deserve leaders who will prioritize fixing the root causes of issues that matter the most to us: homelessness, climate change, criminal justice, and racial equities. None of these issues are waiting, and neither am I. Our campaign has already pushed the conversation forward just by being in this race. Imagine what we can do when we are in charge. Imagine a county leadership where you didn't have to fight to be heard. I know we can change the way we've been doing things for all these years. And I know that we can lead the nation on implementing effective solutions to our most pressing issues. Because right now is not a time for politics. It's about getting things done because people need our help. So thank you so much for the time. Happy to be here, and I look forward to earning your support as well.
Yeah, thanks so much, Senator Nguyen. Really appreciate it. All right, up next we have King County Executive Dow Constantine.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I am tonight on Vashon Island campaigning, just finished remarks to many of our constituents here. 10,000 of our 2.3 million people live on Vashon. I'm grateful to the people of Vashon for delivering me a big victory on primary election night. Grateful to the people of the 43rd District for delivering a huge victory of 55% of the vote on election night, on primary election night. The big lift of this past week has been our vaccine mandate, the vaccine verification order that I announced. This is the kind of difficult work that real leaders do. I've never been much for bluster or posturing. I've been about getting the hard work done, and I'm very grateful to have received support across the board in recognition of the heavy lifting that my administration has done. Among my endorsers is your entire legislative delegation. I'd like to cede the rest of my time to Representative Nicole Macri.
Great, and let us spotlight Nicole. Go for it, Nicole.
Thanks so much, Scott, and thanks so much, Dow. I want to encourage this group to join me in endorsing Dow Constantine for a county executive. Listen, Dow is the real deal. He has taken decisive action on so many issues that are grounded in our progressive values, on climate justice, on housing affordability, in responding to homelessness, snatching up 9 hotels, close to 900 new units of housing that I'm actively involved in opening up, welcoming refugees, basically creating a single payer behavioral health system for our low income residents. So many things that many residents of this district know and don't know. I was grateful to meet today with his team on the huge progress that they are making to keep residents safe, our tenants safe across the county. Please join me in endorsing Dow.
Yeah, thanks so much, Representative Macri. All right, so those are our 2 candidates for county executive. So Annabelle, if you are able to share the ballot for that, that would be great. Annabelle, okay, there it is. Great. So the ballot is in the chat. So we'll give everybody a couple minutes here thank you, Andy. We'll take care of that. So yeah, please vote on the King County Executive. And I'm just checking in with our tally committee about whether we have the results for mayor right now. All right, and it sounds like there are still a couple of votes for mayor trickling in, so let's hold off on announcing those until we take care of our last race here. So the last race on our agenda is Seattle City Attorney. There is only one candidate eligible for our endorsement who submitted a questionnaire for us. To us, that is Nicole Thomas Kennedy. So with that, I will open the floor for nominations. All right, James.
I'd like to move to endorse Nicole Thomas Kennedy for Seattle City Attorney.
Great, thank you, James. So seeing as how that is all of the eligible candidates for our endorsement, we will move right to speeches, and I believe Nicole is with us. So Nicole, please take it away.
Good evening, 43rd, and thanks for having me. We all want to be safe in our homes, on our streets, and in the city that we love. And in pursuit of that goal, we've poured our money into cops, courts, and jails with ever worse return on our investment. It's very loud outside, I'm sorry. The city attorney decides which misdemeanors to prosecute. Misdemeanors are by definition low-level crime, and we spend over $70 million per year punishing primarily the poor, BIPOC, and the disabled for these misdemeanors. If we want to have safe and healthy communities, we have to stop giving in to those who pander to fear. We must instead enact common sense solutions that get to the root of our problems, and we can. The lack of available addiction and mental health treatment has resulted in widespread and visible suffering. For the health of the entire community, we need expanded access to treatment and help prior to crisis. I will work with community to expand accountability programs that interrupt harm and advance healing and connection. A victims' compensation fund will repair people and small businesses. Survivors of interpersonal violence tell us what they need in order to be empowered: a trauma-informed approach, violence prevention programs, and the resources they need to stay safe and heal, with prosecution as a last resort until we build something better. On the civil side of the office, the city attorney directs all of Seattle's civil litigation, both defensive and proactive. I will protect Seattle by taking on those that have done the most harm to our community, those that challenge progressive taxation, landlords that abuse tenants, companies that commit wage theft, and fossil fuel corporations that have knowingly created our climate crisis. I will make sure that those who have done large-scale harm to our city are held financially accountable for their actions, not taxpayers. Our shortage of affordable housing is a community crisis. Jail is not the answer. Housing is. I will collaborate with the mayor and council to change our land use code so we can build affordable housing quickly. Everyone in Seattle deserves to be safe and healthy. I am the only Democrat in this race. I've been endorsed by the 34th, 32nd, 37th, 46th LD Dems, as well as council members Tammy Morales and Teresa Mosqueda, and King County Council member Gurmai Zahalai, and I would be proud to add the 42 to that list. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nicole. Really appreciate it. Because there's only one candidate eligible for our endorsement in this race, our rules do allow someone to speak for no endorsement. Nobody has reached out to me about that, but I will open the floor if anybody would like to speak for no endorsement. Please raise your hand and we can facilitate that. Would anyone like to speak for no endorsement? I'm not seeing any hands. And one last call, any speakers for no endorsement? All right, not seeing any, we will move to a vote. So Annabelle, if you could share the form for the city attorney's race, that would be great. All right, thank you, Annabelle. The form for Seattle City Attorney is in the chat. So please vote using your voting code. right, and I will give people just 1 minute to vote there, and then we'll see if we have results for the mayor's race and can move from there. Annabelle, do we have results for the mayor's race now? It sounds like folks finished voting.
We do.
Okay, great.
Shall I share?
Please do, yes.
So in the City of Seattle mayor race, we received 115 ballots. Lorena Gonzalez received 88 votes, 76.52%. Bruce Harrell received 25 votes, 21.74%. No endorsement received 3 votes, 2.61%. Lorena Gonzalez clears the threshold and wins our endorsement.
All right, thank you, Annabelle and our tally committee, and congratulations to Councilmember Gonzalez, and thanks to both candidates. If Councilmember Gonzalez is still here, if you would like to say a couple words, that would be great.
I am still here. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much to the members of the 43rd District Democrats. I am so honored and humbled to have your support. It means so much to me. We have a lot of hard work ahead of us, but I know that together we can push forward the policies that make sense for our people, that do not abandon our progressive democratic values, and that will make us all proud to be members of this city, because we know we are taking swift action on addressing the needs of those who are unhoused, on climate change, on transit justice, on environmental justice, and on so many other issues that I know we stand together on as proud Democrats. So thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you out on the campaign trail, and really appreciate all of your support and all of your volunteer time here tonight and in the months to come.
Yeah, thanks so much, Councilmember Gonzalez, and congratulations again on your endorsement. All right, so I don't know, Annabelle, do we have results on King County Executive ready?
We still have votes coming in on that one.
Okay, cool. So we will hold off on that one, and City Attorney for another few minutes. Please do finish up your voting, folks, for those, so we can get you all results. But we do not have to pause our agenda for those results. So I think we will move into our committee reports, and then Annabelle, let me know when we have results and we can share those with folks. All right, so up first on our committee reports are our combined elections and PCO committees that are going to talk a little bit about what our get out the vote strategy is and how folks can plug into that. So Sam and Cody, I will let you take it away.
Sounds good. Thanks, Scott. Let's see, Sam, do you mind if I speak to it a little bit first? And if I miss anything, you're welcome to jump in.
Right on.
Awesome. Yeah, so kind of like Scott was mentioning at the start of the meeting, we have a PAC this year, which is really exciting. Previously, we've, I think, been able to do some good get out the vote efforts for sure, but this makes it so that we will be able to, represent our slate of terrific endorsed candidates, and we're really excited about that. So I think we're leading in the direction of postcards, although I think we are still finalizing a few things. But from the PCO side, what I can say is through a couple meetings with the PCO committee, I know there's some appetite for what I'm calling opt out instead of opt in. So the way I'll define this is typically we send out a Google form and PCOs can fill that out requesting a get out the vote list. What we're doing this year is whether you fill out the form or not, if you're a PCO, you're getting a list. And so what I will share in the chat here pretty shortly will be a form for if you're not a PCO, but you still want to help and volunteer with our Get Out the Vote effort, always appreciated there. But if you're a PCO, no further action needed right now. We will be working to get you Get Out the Vote list. And again, kind of final details of that, we're still figuring out. But yeah, I think it'll be a little more work on our end and hopefully a little more work on everyone else's end too. But I think it'll mean more contact with voters and higher voter turnout, which I'm pretty excited for. Sam, anything that I've missed so far?
That was great. I think I'll just add on the lit that we are talking to a few different union print shops. So we've, based on the money that we've raised for the PAC so far, we've got more than enough to do a run of like a couple of thousand pieces of lit. So we're pretty excited about that. And shout out to Kelsey, who's going to work on the design for it. So now that you've endorsed people, we can go advertise those endorsements.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've all been chomping at the bit, I feel like I've received the question in various ways of, hey, where can I get some lit in years past? And so I think I see Sam nodding, and I feel like we're excited that we have lit this year. So yeah, I think it'll be a good general election, Get Out the Vote effort.
Yeah.
Sorry, final note, I'll share the Google form for if you're not a PCO, if you're a volunteer. I'll share that in the chat right here. Again, if you are a PCO, don't worry about filling it out. We're coming for you either way.
Yes, thank you, Cody. And yeah, just to reemphasize, we need everybody's help to make this happen. So really appreciate everybody's work in helping us get to the point where we are, where we have a PAC that we're able to set up and can print lit. And now we need your help to get that lit and our endorsements out to voters. So really excited about the work Sam and Cody and Kelsey and others are doing on that. Please keep an eye on your inboxes for more information from us in the next couple of weeks, because ballots are going to come out sooner than we all expect in just a few weeks. Things are really ramping up. So I see that Linda, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I put my question in the chat, and it's really a general question. First of all, this is really exciting, what you guys have just been talking about. But I do want to know, what are the processes to make sure that we file reports timely and regularly, and that we have monetary oversight of the income and the spending?
Yeah, absolutely. For that is a great segue into our next committee report, actually. So I will ask just really quickly if there's any other questions about first Sam and Cody about the details of getting lit and walk lists and all of that.
I'll just jump in for one more quick final thing. Sorry I didn't mention it before, but like last year, we will also be doing a virtual PCO kickoff this year. So I'll be sending out an email pretty shortly with the nailed down date. But be looking for that. And I think that'll be, I always feel like that's a nice way to kind of kick off GOTV season officially, and we can kind of both work through best practices, talk through any questions and anything. So final button I got, that's it.
Okay, great. Rich and Connie, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, this is Rich. How many orphan precincts do we have right now?
That is a great question. Cody, do you know how many unoccupied precincts we have?
Off the top of my head, I think we have upwards of 70 right now, just because we have, I think we have a pretty good amount of PCOs. I don't want to sort of diminish us there, but we're a large LD. We definitely have a lot of orphan precincts.
Yeah, and I think, Rich, that's a great point to raise. We need folks to help us cover those precincts. And then if we're going to do mail pieces as well, we we need volunteers. So please do fill out the form that Cody shared if you're interested in helping us volunteer. I know a lot of our members volunteer directly with campaigns and knock on doors for candidates. I think the 43rd's voice, means something to folks too. The Democratic Party endorsement means something too. So I do really hope you'll consider volunteering with us as well to get out the word about our endorsements and our the great candidates that we're endorsing tonight. All right, Rich, did you have a follow-up? Raise your hand again if you do. And Annabelle, do we have results in the other two races? And Linda, we will get to your question. So we're not deferring. We'll get there. Sorry, Annabelle,
we do have results actually.
Okay. Great. If you could share that, that'd be great.
Yes. So in the King County Executive race, we received 116 ballots. Joe Nguyen received 65 votes for 56.03%. Dow Constantine received 52 votes for 44.83%. No endorsement received 3 votes, 2.59%. Since neither candidate reached the 60% threshold, but both candidates reached the 40% reconsideration threshold, there is no reconsideration and no endorsement in this race.
Okay, thanks Annabelle for that. And yeah, as Annabelle explained, there's no reconsideration, so we're just not going to make an endorsement for King County Executive. Thank you to both candidates. Really appreciate your time and wish both of you luck in the campaign. Do we have results for City Attorney? Yes.
We do. Seattle City Attorney, we received 112 ballots. Nicole Thomas Kennedy received 87 votes, 77.68%. No endorsement received 25 votes, 22.382%. So Nicole Thomas Kennedy wins our endorsement for Seattle City Attorney.
Great. Thank you so much, Annabelle, and a really big shout out to our tally team for helping folks get their codes and having the results here. Nicole, do you want to say a few more words if you're still with us?
Still here. Sure. I don't want to take up a lot of time. I just want to say thank you very much. It was a pleasure being with you here tonight, and thank you for supporting me. I think we can really make some big changes that are going to have really far-reaching effects on this city, and I'm very excited about it. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nicole. And I think it's fair to say the 43rd is excited about that too. So great. Yeah, thanks so much to all the candidates for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. And we will now get Linda to your question about how we're making sure that with the PAC we're staying in compliance. So Tara Gallagher and Brad Bell, are you with us and can explain the work you've been doing the past couple months and kind of the process we're using and take us through the reporting side of things?
Yeah, so this is something we have been working on for the past few months, and we've basically come to a good division of labor, I would say, where we all figure out the best process, and then Tara has been taking on the bulk of the reporting, and it's a fairly straightforward system we've worked out. Is weekly for donations and monthly for spending. That's something that you can find if you go to the PDC's webpage. And I can show you that real quick.
Yeah, that would be great. And Brad, your video has frozen, but we can still hear you. Brad, are you still there? Okay, I think we lost Brad there. So hopefully he'll be joining us shortly. Tara, did you want to pick up where Brad left off for the time being, or?
Sure. That's pretty much it. The three of us, Scott, Brad, and I, have a kind of checkup. We report in. The reporting, we now have software that takes all the donor information from the online donations and just puts that directly into a report for the PDC, which is much easier and more accurate than hand entering everything, which is what was previously like 10 years ago was the way to do it. So it is easy, and we're getting in the swing of it. And because it's so easy to report, tons of donation is not a problem for us at all. So I encourage, donate often. And if Brad doesn't come back, I don't know if I have screen sharing, but you can go to the PDC website. Let me see if I can. Oh, I can. Wait, let me find it. Okay. Okay. You can go to the PDC website, pdcwa.gov. Just go to committees and party committees and scroll through and look for us. And that will give you the opportunity to just see how our reporting is. So you can see who is reporting, you can see that we are reporting, and that's our C1, that's our officers. So just make sure that it looks like things are happening there. If you want, you can download the entire list of contributors, but just it's an opportunity to check and see that we are keeping up to date. And if you ever have any questions, just let us know. Are there any questions now or that?
Yeah, I think Brad just rejoined us, but yeah, if folks have any questions, I know this isn't the most exciting stuff in the world, but it is really important for the effective functioning of our organization. And I do really encourage folks to check out the PDC. It is a really useful tool, not just to keep an eye on making sure that we're doing well, but see who's giving to candidates. It can be revealing sometimes to see the donors to candidates, to ballot measures, to other campaigns. It's a really useful resource that we have here in Washington State. So yeah, we have the systems in place, I think, to keep up with our reporting. Tara and Brad, in the rules that we adopted for our PAC, they are required to let me know every Monday that they've filed reports. They've been doing that. And we do have things, as Tara mentioned, have advanced. It is much easier for us now than it used to be with things online to make sure things are filed correctly. So yeah, we have spent a lot of time getting that figured out. And Linda, thanks for asking that question and making sure we had a chance to show it all off. So yeah, are there any other questions from folks about this? Any other questions? All right. Great. Thank you, Tara and Brad, for presenting to us and for all of your work behind the scenes. I am going to take this opportunity very quickly just to, again, highlight that that we have a PAC now, as we just went over. And a couple folks, when Sam and Cody were talking, messaged me like, oh, I hope we can do more. I want us to be able to do more, get out more mailers and stuff. The limiting factor there is the amount of funds that we have available. We are starting this mid-cycle, so we didn't have any reserves to lean on. This is all based off of new fundraising efforts, and then our volunteer power, so we can get that out. So really do, I'm going to share the link one more time. I'm not going to hit you all over the head with it, but really do encourage you to join us and lend us your financial support if you're available. You know who our endorsed candidates are now. Those are the names that'll be on the lit. I'm really excited about all of them, and I'm hoping we can do a lot to support them. So I will share this link really quickly. Oops, I sent that to one person. So let me send that again, or there it is. All right, so that should be there for everybody. And if you're able to contribute, I really appreciate it. And if you're not, that's okay too. And I know you all will be contributing to these races in other ways. So thanks so much for that. And up next on the committee reports, we have our PCO committee. There are 3 folks that we need to appoint as PCOs. So Cody, if you could walk us through those real quick.
Yes, sorry, you caught me a little off guard. I was kind of doing some tally help and other things. Let me walk you through those. Give me a moment here. Perfect. Yeah. So first and foremost, we have Scott himself, who moved recently, right? And so I think Scott is stepping down from where we currently had you. Let me just pull that up, and you are stepping into C43-1406. So not too much there. Do you want me to go all 3 at the same time, or do you like me to go kind of line by line as we do it?
Sure. Why don't you go through all 3? And then
Perfect. So then the second one we have, I'm going to try to pronounce his name correctly. Apologies in advance if I don't. But for C43-1990, we have Kelsey Woolley. And then for third, we have somebody else from our board. We have Bryce Colton for C43-1851. Yeah, and I think what we would love to do is just hear a quick 1 to 2 sentence introduction from all 3 of the PCO candidates to be appointed. Doesn't have to be anything revolutionary, but if you're comfortable speaking on camera for a moment, would love to hear from you. And I know a bit of the formality, but I don't know, maybe kick us off, Scott, if you would.
Yeah, I'll go for it real quick. Just to update everybody, I moved recently from Capitol Hill to near Green Lake. My new precinct is empty, so I'm happy to step up and represent that as a PCO. And it will be a great way to meet some new neighbors, knocking on their doors and dropping off some 43rd lead and making sure they vote. I don't see Kelsey here. Bryce, do you want to say hi to everybody? Bryce has been working behind the scenes on our tally committee tonight.
Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoy this glorious up-chin shot of me in my halfway functional office right now. This is going to sound very familiar. I also moved from Capitol Hill to Capitol Hill, and the new place is also vacant. So I would love to be able to fill in and pester all of the neighbors in my condo building to go vote for what the 43rd endorsed. So I would very much appreciate your approval for a PCO place. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Bryce, for all of your work and for stepping up as PCO. Okay, I don't know if I should recuse myself or not from doing this vote to appoint myself as PCO chair or as a PCO, but I guess I'll just ask if there's any objections to making these appointments. Any objections to making these appointments? Any objections? All right, Seeing none, we'll send these folks to King County and get them approved as PCOs. So thanks so much, everybody. Thanks to all of our folks who are PCOs currently. And if you are interested in becoming a PCO for your precinct, please do reach out to Cody. He mentioned we have about 70 precincts that aren't filled right now. A new one just opened up, or 2 new ones just opened up on Capitol Hill with Bryce and myself moving. It's a great chance to check in and see if you can become an appointed PCO as well. Okay, so with that, we will move to our last committee report, which is our Cody just shared the new PCO application in the chat. So please do use that if you're interested in becoming a PCO. We're happy to talk you through what that involves as well, if that would be helpful. So our last committee report is our mutual aid committee. Some of you will remember, I don't remember exactly if it was June or May, where we approved the mutual aid committee along with some budget to provide mutual aid in the 43rd. That committee has been meeting and has come back with draft rules. There was a motion made at the meeting when we approved the committee that they should draft some rules for themselves and come back and get membership approval of those before we start doing that work. Happy to pass the microphone over to our mutual aid committee chair, Don Daly. I will share my screen with the draft rules. And Don was going to walk us through those real quick. So Don, please go ahead.
Hey folks, how are you? Can everybody hear me? I'd like to announce also for visual captions that I'm wearing light green frames and a very vibrant yellow sweatshirt. The mutual aid subcommittee chair is appointed by the policy and advocacy chair and the 43rd district Democrats chair. The subcommittee is made up of members appointed by the subcommittee chair. Folks need to participate in mutual aid in order to vote on the committee, and we welcome all folks who haven't done mutual aid before. But it is important that you have lived-in experiences and working experiences in mutual aid and with the needs of our 43rd residents. 3 voting members are required for a quorum. Subcommittee decisions require a 2/3 vote for appropriate funds and services. We'll report back to the general membership on our approved actions, and we've had 2 official subcommittee meetings presently. Aid will be prioritized by immediate needs and communications within the mutual aid subcommittee members for our 43rd constituents based on our assessments, conversations with mutual aid organizations, and environmental and social events that occur in our district. Aid below $250 requires sign off from the committee and district chair. Aid above $250 requires sign off from full membership. We'll report back to the general membership on our approved actions. In our second meeting, we finalized and agreed upon our rules and drafts, which Scott is wonderfully showing and displaying. We agreed on a rule set forth, and we agreed that we will distribute $250 to stop the sweeps campaign to help our unhoused neighbors, $250 to the waste station and/or single sparks, $200 to the homeless organizing committee's propane exchange. Falls here and winter is approaching, and they will need heating and fuel and food services. Needs will be addressed seasonally as we welcome our mutual aid organizations' collaborations to distribute the remaining $4,000 of the fiscal year. Thank you so much. And that's the end of my report.
Great, yeah, thanks, Don. The rules do need to be approved by the membership. So want to open things up for questions, comments, otherwise. And sorry, I need to, things are off here. Okay, I see 2 hands up right now. So Tara, go ahead.
I wanted to move an amendment to the rules, so I don't know if you want to take other questions first.
Sure. Why don't we do questions first if we can, and then Tara, I'll put you first in line for moving an amendment. Allison.
Thank you so much. I want to thank the members of this particular subcommittee for the work you're doing and for the thoughtfulness of this. I simply want to know what are the ways that members of the 43rd who are interested in supporting this effort supposed to get in touch with you? Can you talk a little bit about how often you meet and so on? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much, Allison. Dawn, could you help answer Allison's questions?
Absolutely, Allison. You could email me directly through Dawn Daly at 43rd Democrats or the fundraiser chair at 43rd Democrats email, or you could also, as you and I are also connected through social media and also through the Slack channel, I welcome you to contact us through the mutual aid Slack channel and contact me in any ways it informs to participate in the subcommittee. We welcome your collaboration and advice and insights. And thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing, Allison, as well for our 43rd constituents. I want to amplify that. Thank you.
Yeah, Don, could you, okay, great. Looks like Kelsey shared the email there in the chat. So please do reach out, folks. I believe that the mutual aid committee is a meeting around when the policy committee meets. But Don, do you have a set meeting schedule yet, or is that more ad hoc still?
Our meetings try to coincide with the policy advocacy committee meetings, which are generally the first Thursday of every month. As those meetings have been adjusted as needed due to our wonderful policy advocacy committee chairs, graduate school needs, we have adjusted those meetings as needed as well to include and invite workarounds for invited guests meetings as well, as we have done in the past. So we can be fluid with those meetings, but generally the first Thursday of the month.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Don. And we'll try and get out a notice about the next meetings for our different committees to our members so that folks know they're able to join those. Great. Thanks so much, Allison. Really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you, Allison, for your work in the community as well. Kyle, go ahead.
Thank you. I just had a question about the structure and how the subcommittee rules are stated in 3.3.1. So it says subcommittee members appointed by the subcommittee chair, and consequently, those subcommittee decisions require a 2/3 vote of approval by all people that were appointed by the subcommittee chair. Is there any other way that folks are able to join this, or are they only appointed?
Sorry, Don, why don't you go ahead?
That's a very good question, Kyle. To clarify, anyone is welcome to attend a subcommittee meeting. The 2/3 vote for approval is among the subcommittee voting members, and those are subcommittee members with proven actual or lived experiences and work in mutual aid. So the 2/3 vote are for the voting members. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and I'll just add really briefly to that, that all of our committees, the members are appointed by the chairs of those committees. Generally, we have a very open door policy about that. And if you show up and you do the work, I think Don would really welcomes new members. And so there is this requirement that folks show up and help out with the work specifically for this committee. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, Kyle, and let us know if you have a follow-up.
And I'd also like to note that the to be a voting member, there doesn't have to be like a set proven deliverable for your actions as well and lived experiences. It's just, hey, I participate in this, or I've donated to this organization. And it's just a really welcoming, equitable, inclusive voting membership as well. So I just really wanted to amplify that as well. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks for that, Dawn. And yeah, absolutely not meant to be a barrier. It's meant to be an encouragement, to get involved and do this work. All right. Any other questions before we get to Tara's motions? I'm going to lower the hands of the folks that asked questions already. Okay. I don't see anyone else. So Tara, why don't you go ahead?
Yes, I wanted to move to under committee responsibilities 1.1 to strike and evaluate individuals on a case-to-case basis.
Okay, Tara, your microphone was breaking up a little bit. What I heard was that you want to strike this part that I have highlighted.
That's correct.
That makes that unreadable. All right, so I will just highlight that here. Okay, is there a second to Tara's motion to strike and evaluate individuals on a case-by-case basis? All right, I see some hands that are up. Yes, we will give Tara the floor here to explain what she's going for. I'm assuming that those folks who raised their hands are seconding. Message me if that's not the case, but I saw both Paul and Linda raise their hands. Okay, so the way our debate rules work is that folks get 1 minute each, so for and against, and we'll go up to 3 speakers on both sides. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for the moment, just so that folks can see the speakers. And Cass, are we able to get the timer up?
The dog wants to vote.
Are they a paid member? I
think they are.
Yeah.
What did you ask me?
Do we still have the timer, the Blue Sky timer available?
Yeah, and we just want that set for 1 minute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Tara, for your patience as we get this set up.
Okay, here's our timer. Oh, the timer has left our meeting.
Oh, no. Okay, it sometimes has a time limit. That's okay. If you could work on getting that back, Cass, that would be great. Otherwise, I will keep time on my phone, and I encourage folks to try and keep things to the point in under a minute. So, all right, so Tara, please go ahead.
Okay, the 43rd, remember, is a political party organization, which means we are subject to a different level and type of scrutiny than a mutual aid organization is. And I do not think we should be giving directly to individuals, because that is just an opening for hard feelings and suspicion. If we're deciding on a case-by-case basis, that's really just asking for bad feelings. And also, I don't even know how cases would come to the attention of the committee. If they're recommended by committee members, that leaves us open to complaints about favoritism and insiderism. If we just open it up for people to ask for grants, we run out of money instantly. It really just seems better to go through groups, or perhaps directly provide material or infrastructure like the portable sinks, but giving to individuals we have only $4,000. It's not going to go very far. It can go better with groups.
Yeah, that's time. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, so do we have a speaker against this motion? Please raise your hand if you would like to speak against.
I will not necessarily speak against, but I will add an amendment that I appreciate Tara's discernment and upon the wording of that phrase. And I would like to say that an amendment should be done for that to involve deliverable goods or needs to not members of the 43rd Democrats, but just 43rd constituent residents that might need specific repairs or specific non-monetary cash assistance or needs.
Yeah, so just to clarify, Dawn, my understanding is that with Tara's amendment, we would still be able to do that to provide, materials to folks who are struggling. But Tara, maybe you could confirm whether that's the intent of what what you're going for or not.
I'm actually not clear on what Dawn was saying. Just it's not so much even money, but just giving to an individual as an individual instead of through a group. Again, is just going to ask questions as to why is that individual and not another. If it's something like saying, like you said, repairs, if we have a structure for that, maybe, but I just feel like I don't know how an individual is going to be selected for that without it turning into questions about why that individual and how did they get the service.
Okay, thanks for that. And Dawn, so thank you, folks. I just want to see if we can get this straightened out here.
No, I appreciate that as well. And by services also, I mean like direct services. Something that was really appreciated early on during the onslaught of snow in April was mutual aid services to our neighbors to get out the vote and raise awareness and shovel snow and driveways. So that's also a direct service, an actionable service that we could provide individuals within the 43rd that we can also claim as in-kind mutual aid service within our subcommittee. It doesn't necessarily mean that the repairs or assistance has to be monetary in any way, but just an actionable, good golden rule neighborly assistance to an individual within the 43rd.
Yeah, if it's going through the subcommittee, I'm just wondering, it's again the same thing. I mean, it's great to just post in the forum and say, hey, people go out and shovel snow, but officially going through the committee.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you both. Well, I'm just gonna state what my understanding of this is that if we were to adopt Tara's amendment, then we could distribute aid through existing mutual aid groups, still as discussed and as the committee has initially proposed, and we could still provide do service work essentially to the 43rd, and help people generally. But what we wouldn't do is we wouldn't take an application that said, oh, my friend Joe Smith needs help, like we'll buy him individually, tent or something to that effect. Is that the understanding that you both have of this?
Yes, I think that's an agreed upon understanding that we can synthesize, but also Kyle has a question or a statement that he would like to include, and I'd like to also.
Yeah, I was not looking at the.
Thank you. I think Tara's suggestion doesn't preclude one of these organizations from helping an individual, and that removes some of the concern that there would be perceived favoritism by the 43. And that's the key. I think Tara's suggestion is protective of the 43rd.
Great. Thank you for that, Kyle. I'm going to count that as a speech in favor of the amendment. And I guess I would ask Dawn, it sounds like you are okay with this amendment
passing this
I-
amendment, correct?
I'm okay with this amendment passing.
Okay, great. So I will ask then, Greta, I see your hand is up, and I will ask if there's any objection, I guess, to this amendment. So Greta.
Am I allowed to, do I have to speak on one side or the other right now, or can I just?
I would say, which side would you like to speak for?
I'm pro the amendment, and I wonder if it would be easier to work in something that mentions, to the degree possible, working with existing organizations. Because living next to the park, I have definitely noticed that the quote unquote mutual aid people there giving away clothing has created a very negative situation, including there was a shooting over there. There's all kinds of stuff going on there when that mutual aid quote unquote group is there. And I don't think it's actually 43rd people, but I have to say it's been really disturbing. And the shooting was at a time when that was sort of at its height during the summer. It led to the park lights being on, like the blasting, skylights for the fields being on 24 hours a day. And that created all sorts of, that was an attractive nuisance. So a lot of people came, and it just, I think there's been what surprised me, the negative effects. So if that helps with that, I would really appreciate it for my precinct.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Greta. So I didn't hear any, sound like you're in favor of the amendment, and we'll just take that as feedback to the mutual aid committee. I think, as Don mentioned, they are going through established groups to start and providing aid ourselves. So we will take things from there. So I see some more hands up. So I'm going to ask if we need a speaker in opposition to this amendment, or I'm going to ask for consent to adopt it. Kyle. Your hand may have been up from previous times and I didn't lower it. I apologize if that's the case.
Yeah, it was left over, sorry.
Okay. Yep, no problem. Oops, sorry. All right, Angel.
Hey, I just had kind of a general question in the general direction that this has kind of been going, which is one thing that I've encountered a lot is we write a rule and then a couple iterations of people later, someone looks at the rule again and then it gets interpreted differently. And then you dig back and you do find the discussion about the intent. So I was just curious if maybe we can get another set of eyeballs to just look over that and try to look at it with fresh eyes and say, if I saw this for the first time and someone asked this question, would it be really clear from this language where I should go with this? And if not, we should maybe massage it a little bit more.
Yep, thanks for that. This is certainly an iterative process that we are going through. And so if there's no objection to adopting this amendment, I really want to move us forward. We have other stuff we need to get to tonight. We will then move to adopting these rules. And then we would, yes, I think we should do a read over and potentially make modifications if necessary, and we will adopt changes as needed. So Paul, will raise your hand. What is your comment? I'm really looking for folks who are opposed at this point. Otherwise, we'll move forward.
Oh, okay. I was just going to second your motion to adopt and move forward.
Okay, great.
All right, I'll shut up.
No, yeah, no worries. Okay. All right. Is there any objection to adopting Tara's amendment to the rules? Any objection? All right, not seeing any. We will adopt that change. So I'm going to, can I delete this? I believe I can. Okay. So I've deleted that section from the proposed rules. And then is there any objection to adopting the rules as they are amended? Linda.
I'm not objecting, but I'd like to see them on the screen before we.
Oh, sure. Sorry about that.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Just 1 second. Okay, I hope that folks can see that now. All right, I have to find my participants list again. Okay, so with that, are there any objections to approving the rules as amended? Any objections? And okay, I see Linda's hand is up again.
Not an objection,
Mhm.
but what is the reporting mechanism? Is it in there?
There is not a, it is in here that the, so it's in here 5.1 that the committee will provide updates at general meetings. So you will see those as committee reports. And then there's also down here in the spending at 5, it says that the chair and the treasurer are responsible for ensuring that what we're doing here is compliant with the various laws and regulations around things.
So I have an amendment
Okay.
on 5.1. So it would read, updates will be provided at least quarterly at the 43rd District Democrats general meetings. So add those 3 words, at least quarterly.
Okay. We can do that. I think that the understanding of this amendment as written, and Don, maybe you can help me with this, was that the updates would actually be provided just monthly as the committee does work, which would kind of supersede that. But Don, what was the intent here?
The intent was to report monthly to the Policy Advocacy Committee and the general membership in our general meetings of our actions. So that does supersede the quarterly updates.
So why don't
I would like to add the word monthly, provided monthly.
Yes, great. We are, yeah, you jumped ahead. Sounds like a good solution. Is there any objection to adding monthly here? Angel.
The difficulty with monthly is that if you don't have a meeting in a given month, someone could argue that you're out of compliance with your own rules. So I actually do like the quarterly idea, since we do have meetings at least quarterly, and that implies that there shall be some sort of report. You can overperform. You can overperform your rules. You're allowed to.
Can't your report just be that you didn't meet?
Yeah, I'm saying if we don't have a meeting. If we decide to take a month off and so we don't have a general meeting, then there's an argument that like, oh, well, you still have to send out an email or something. And I don't feel like that's the intent, but if it is the intent, then go ahead. But like, does their need to report to you supersede us having a meeting? If we don't have a meeting, do you still need to hear from them?
Right.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, so we will leave this as is. All right, sorry.
No. I think we need to be specific. I don't have a second to my amendment, but I'd like one.
Leaving your amendment as is.
Oh, okay.
For quarterly or for monthly then?
For monthly, I think. Angel.
Kelsey in chat says every general meeting, which is perfect. I would like to recommend that.
I would second.
Okay, do we have?
I'll third it.
Okay. So changes to at every 43rd District Democrats general meeting. Are we good there?
Yeah.
Seeing nods. All right, any objections to doing that? Okay, great. Any objections to adopting these rules as amended? Any objections? Any objections? Okay, seeing none, thanks to everybody for your work on that. We are going to dive into our resolutions here. So for the first one is a resolution in support of a select committee for climate in the Seattle City Council. Arvia, I believe you're the one who submitted that one. Arvia and Jim.
Yeah, I think that Jim Street will present it.
Sure.
Yes. Yes, my name is Jim Street, and I've been a member of the 43rd District for 44 years, including 12 years when I was on the Seattle City Council. And every one of those years, the centerpiece of this organization's interest has been around justice, economic, social, racial justice. As we face the issue of climate change, an expanded view of justice has got to be addressed, and that is the disproportionate effect of climate change on people who live here now and in the near future, but also the disproportionate impacts on people who don't even live today, who will be affected in potentially catastrophic ways. So this resolution calls for the creation of a select committee on the council to bring a more centered highlighting to this important issue. Right now, there are 6 different city council committees that deal with aspects of climate. There's no way that produces a coherent set of accountability measures, agreed policies, goals, budgets, schedules, and so forth. And it is not doing that today. At the beginning of 2020, the mayor actually passed an executive order that called for exactly that kind of information. But in part because of the pandemic, it has never happened. There was a call for benchmarks, but there's a call for an agreed set of high priorities. It's important that the timing matters because we need to do what can have the biggest impact soonest in order to avoid those irreversible impacts on climate. If it is producing that, then those of us who are spending a majority of our time on climate don't know it. And as citizens, we need to know whether or not we're on schedule, we're on track, and we need to be able to hold our council members accountable in a way that is far superior than what we have today. It would highlight, and I think this is sort of the centerpiece, the central priority the city is giving to climate change. Every candidate spoken, at least in the general sense, has talked about climate change and climate justice being important. But at this point in time, that's not happening on the council. It would make more likely that one or more, that is a select committee, it would make it more likely that one or more council members would emerge as climate champions, which so far has not happened. We do not have, at this point, an individual council member has really risen to that role. And I think a select committee will make that more likely to happen by centering the cities, the citizens, and the councils and the mayor's focus on this issue. We need bold and urgent action. Actually, on the question of climate justice, the important role of this committee will be to provide a forum of all council members to deal with recommendations and ideas coming from the Green New Deal Oversight Board. And Jess Wallach, who's a member of that oversight board, and also a leader in 350 Seattle 350, has said she endorses this because of its ability to make the board able to talk to the whole council in a more coherent and effective way. So we need action. A resolution by the council by this 43rd district today will increase the likelihood that the council will put this into their organization just 2 months from now when they are organizing for 2022. So please give this your support. Hello.
Hi. Let me put my screen on so you can see me. I don't know. All I can see is Jim right now, so I don't. Oh, hi. My name is Holly Towns, and I'm a member of the 43rd District and very active on the 43rd District Environmental Caucus. And we've all been working really hard to try to bring forward concrete action on climate change, both at the state level and now more at the city level.
Yeah, Holly, Sorry, I want to jump in really quickly. Do you have a question for Jim, or are you speaking in favor of the resolution?
I'm speaking in favor of the resolution.
Okay, great. Noted. And if we need more speakers, I will come back to you. So sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
keep...
here to endorse this.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Holly. I really appreciate it. Okay, are there any other questions that folks have? Jim?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, I think you may have misspoken, Jim. The city council currently has 6 select committees, but none on justice. Is that correct?
They have 6 committees on that deal with different pieces of climate. For example, there's a land use committee that's dealing with the zoning issues, and there's a transportation issue, but they are dealing on specific legislative type actions, as opposed to tracking the overall progress that we're making and what are the priorities between different actions and so forth. So they don't produce sort of a coherent, collaborative overview. And this would have a committee of the whole to achieve that particular goal. It would not replace the role of the land use committee, in other words, in terms of their specific legislation. It would provide for that overview of policies, strategies, what comes first, what budget comes first, what's the schedule, are we adhering, and above all, accountability. Right now, citizens do not have a good capacity, nor does the council, to hold the city accountable for action on the schedule. We're still waiting, and we still haven't received the things that the mayor recommended almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, thanks, Jim and Jeff. All right, are there other questions for Jim? Other questions? Okay, are there any objections to adopting this resolution? Any objections to adopting this resolution? Any objections? All right, seeing none, I think we can consider this resolution adopted. Thanks, Jim and Holly and Arvia and the members of the Environmental Caucus. And my ask to you all is please forward to us at the 43rd, how folks can communicate this to their council members that this be done, especially going into next year, as you mentioned, when they're deciding how to organize themselves. So we'd love to get the word out about that. So great. Thanks so much to you both. Okay, we are going to continue moving through our resolutions here. We have a resolution to support Tubman Health. I think this was submitted by Sam McVitie.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. So the background on this resolution is that there has been a very pronounced amount of racial injustice in our healthcare system in Seattle and elsewhere. And a lot of this has come to a head recently at Seattle Children's, et cetera. And so I've been working with an organization, Tubman Health Collective, which wants to bring a new approach to healthcare that really centers the Black community specifically, since they've been sort of excluded from medical establishment historically. And so what this is seeking to do is ask for legislative funding for a capital campaign that they're working on running. And Frank Chop would be a key vote on that. So we're looking to particularly lobby him as well as the rest of our electeds on this capital campaign. So the specifics of the resolution were drafted in collaboration with the Tubman Health Collective and are supported by folks like King County Equity Now. And if folks are familiar with the sort of Seattle medical scene, Dr. Ben Danielson is on their board and is providing advising for that. So I think they're a fantastic group of people, and this is a really important issue that we should be amplifying.
Great. Thank you, Sam, for bringing this to us. Are there any questions that folks have? Any questions that folks have? All right, I'm not seeing any questions. So I will ask if there is any opposition to adopting this resolution. Any opposition to adopting this resolution? Any opposition? All right, I'm not hearing any. So the 43rd Democrats have adopted this resolution in support of Tubman Health. Sam, the same request goes to you. If this is a legislative ask, I know it'll come up, next next spring. So please do keep us informed and ask that folks, support, whatever action that is to reach out to our electeds. So yeah, thanks so much, everybody. All right, up next, we have a resolution in support of reproductive choice. And I apologize, I actually don't have it listed who submitted this one. Let me see if it's at the bottom. Paul Chapman, great. Paul, I will let you speak to this.
Just very simply, this is a resolution calling on the Senate to pass the Women's Health Protection Act and abolish the filibuster if necessary to do so. This is, of course, in the wake of all of the movements across the United States to end reproductive health choice for those with uteruses.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul, for bringing this to us and the rest of the policy committee members. Obviously, this has been in the news, and yeah, we absolutely need action. Are there any questions for Paul about this resolution? Any questions about the resolution? All right, and then I will ask, is there any opposition to adopting this resolution? Any objection to adopting this resolution? Any objection to adopting this resolution? All right, hearing none, the 43rd has adopted this resolution and we will forward it to our federal representatives. So thanks for putting this together, and thanks to everybody doing work to fight against what's happening in Texas and Mississippi and other states. So I really appreciate it. There's so much work to do and appreciate the folks that are working on that. All right, and then the next one is a resolution in support of continued remote testimony, and this was submitted by Jesse Murray. Jesse, I will share this one in the chat, but if you want to walk people through it, that would be great.
Sure. Thank you, Scott. So basically, this resolution stems from a letter that Disability Rights Washington, the Mockingbird Society, and the Low Income Housing Coalition pulled together to recommend that as we move forward and hopefully get to the point where meeting in person is no longer dangerous due to the pandemic, that the increased accessibility of public testimony remains in place. So this resolution is basically just written, even though they just submitted the letter, that we would basically just contact our representatives and say that we support the requested both continued remote testimony as well as the improvements that the organizations listed.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much, Jesse. Are there any questions about this resolution or remote testimony and what this is asking for? Any questions? All right, not seeing any questions. I will ask if there's any objection to passing this resolution. Any objections to passing this resolution? All right, Heidi, I see your hand is up.
I just wanted to state that I'm fully in support of this resolution. Being able to testify remotely eliminated many hours of driving and sitting around in an office, being extremely unproductive. It's really unfair to people who cannot take that time off from work or leave people who require care at home. And I really appreciate submitting this resolution and putting it forward. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Heidi. You make some really good points there. Is there any objection to passing this resolution? All right, that was my third total. So the 43rd has passed this resolution and we will submit it to our representatives. And yeah, just to second what Jesse and Heidi said, Disability Rights Washington are the ones pushing this. This makes Olympia more accessible to everybody. You don't need to have a disability for this to make it easier for you to participate in government. So I'm really glad that we're supporting this and that folks have brought it forward. So thank you so much, Jesse. Really appreciate that. So that is all for our resolutions. It is not all for our meeting. I know we're a little late, but we are going to do an overview very briefly of the legislative redistricting. The maps for that, the draft maps for that came out today, one from each commissioner. And so our King County Dems representative Efren is going to walk us through those proposed maps, and then we'll hear how folks can give some feedback on them to the redistricting commission, which I think, as you'll see, is badly needed in at least a couple of cases. So Efren, I will let you take it away.
Hey, thanks, Scott, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for sticking around so long. Scott said, my name is Efren Hudnall. I'm half of the dynamic duo that's representing this district at the King County Democrats Central Committee. I'm also joined by Tara Gallagher. She's the other half of the dynamic duo, and Amy Madden. She's also going to be helping out with the presentation tonight. Please bear with me. I'm going to try to share my screen. Hopefully nothing catches fire when I do. I'm going to turn over to Amy real fast to kind of go over the meetings basically the process as it is. We're in the middle of redistricting right now. As you know, redistricting is a process that happens every 10 years following the census. Once the census data is collected by the federal government, it is transmitted to the states where their redistricting process begins. So we are in the process. The appointees to the commission have been made. They've gathered data, they've held their public events, and they've just released their first draft of the map. So I'm going to turn it over briefly to Amy, and she's going to cover basically the agenda for the commission itself and what's coming next, and then we'll get to the maps themselves. If we can unmute Amy.
Hey everyone, this is Amy Madden, State Committee Representative, and I work on the Redistricting Committee of the State Central Committee. Sorry, I'm getting an echo. I've had to be on 2 different meetings due to internet connectivity. I apologize. I'm not sure how to turn that off. I apologize. So if you look at the calendar, the 2 most important dates for all of us to be aware of are the outreach meetings where we can give testimony. And I am going to be talking about that more later in the meeting. And why that's important. Efren, if you want to go over the maps and what kind of changes have been made first, I think that will help set us up for why we need to testify.
Sure, absolutely. We'll get started with the map as it is currently. This is the map as it was drawn in 2011. Bear with me a moment as I pull up my notes. The current boundaries for the map have a northern boundary. These are generalizations, not all encompassing. There are some minor cutouts that only incorporate a block or so, but northern boundary is Northwest 65th, Aurora North, Green Lake Drive North, and Northeast 75th and 50th. Our eastern boundary currently is Montlake Boulevard Northeast, 25th Avenue Northeast, and 23rd Avenue Northeast. Our western boundary encompasses 8th Avenue North and Westlake Avenue North, and there's a large water boundary. And then our southern boundary is James Street, 15th Avenue, East Madison Street, East Mercer Street. If there are any questions on the map as it currently is drawn, Amy or Tara, do you have anything to add? All right. All right, so we're going to move on. The first map that we'll review tonight will be a submission from Commissioner Sims. She's one of the House Democratic Caucus appointees. All right. Just to kind of orient everybody, up is north, down is south, left is west, right is east. This is a color coordinated map. Unfortunately, don't know if there's a way to decolor coordinate it. If you have any issues with color blindness, please let us know and we can see if we can get a grayscale map for you later on. But some highlights on Commissioner Sims' submission. This is just a draft and proposed map. The northern boundary essentially would be cutting out Green Lake, changing the northern boundary to northwest 60th and 65th and north 50th Street. The eastern boundary would be northeast 25th Avenue, northeast 45th Street, and northeast 41st Street. Western boundary would be 8th Avenue, Fremont Cut, as well as Lake Union, Westlake Avenue, and Lenora Street. And the southern boundary essentially cuts out parts of, or the significant portion of First Hill, changing it to Gessler Way, 2nd Avenue, Marion Street. It will hug I-5 before moving to Bourne Street, University Street, Seneca, then back to Boylston, Madison, and then East Mercer. Any questions or portions of the map that anyone would like me to zoom in on?
Jeff has his hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you have any insight on why changes have been made or been suggested. And I'd also love to see the downtown segment zoomed in, just because it is so small. It's hard to tell if there's been any changes.
Sure. Tara, I don't know if Tara has any prepared talking points on specific portions that have changed. I do think that could get into a very prolonged conversation. I know generally priorities are listed on the website as to what each commissioner is aiming to do. I think it's no secret that the Republicans are trying to make the state more Republican friendly, while the stated focus of the Democratic caucus appointees is to preserve communities and neighborhoods that tend to vote in blocks, so that they're not separated along district lines. And then Jeff, I'm zooming in on downtown a little bit. Is that better?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Let me put in, first I dropped the link to where you can find these maps and peruse all of them at your leisure. I dropped the link in the chat. In general, the number one thing that happened was we had the greatest population growth of any LD. So in order to make a denser district, we did have to lose some sections. So essentially, in accordance with the criteria that Efren said, you'll see different commissioners had different ideas about which areas to keep and which could be kind of carved elsewhere.
Yeah, and then Heidi, you have your hand up.
Yeah, can you shift the map back up to the Green Lake Finney Ridge area? I'm kind of confused as to why they kind of go, I understand Woodland Park, obviously they're skipping, but it seems to me like they're extending it further west. The current boundary I thought was like at Northwest 3rd, and now they're out to Northwest 8th.
The current boundary is 8th, actually.
It is 8th? Okay, it is 8th over there, and by me, it's by 3rd.
That contains Green Lake, which is why there's that big weird blob there. The whole Finney, West Fremont area is pretty much what it is now.
So that doesn't really change, is what you're saying?
Right, except for the Green Lake precinct, but past Fremont Avenue, it doesn't change very much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm seeing other questions. I do just want to add really quickly, the process that this happens is each commissioner releases releases their own map, and then they, based on public comment and the feedback they get, they are all going to have to negotiate the final maps. So we can look into this one, and this is a serious map, I think, by a someone. Commissioner Sims put a lot of work and into drawing a good map, but this is not the only draft map. So we will have some others to go through, and then the final result will be some combination of all of them. So Corey, Corey just put his hand down. Rich, go ahead.
Well, on a rough basis, how much shrinkage are we going to have in the 43rd number of voters? Because it's geographically, it's sure shrunk. So how many, what does that mean as far as precincts and voters?
Yeah, I think we should go get the actual number. Tara, do you have it, or?
I can find the actual number. Essentially, the number of voters, because the population has increased, so the proportions will be the same. There's the numbers. So the numbers.
57,206 was the target, or total population. The target was 157,251 as drawn by this commissioner.
So,
yeah. And
so
they'll all be pretty similar.
Yeah, so that's what the proposal is. The past, we had grown by say 30 to 40,000 extra people compared to where we were supposed to be. So that's why you're seeing reductions in the area. And that was
That's correct.
Actually,
all of the maps will have geographic reduction because we did become much more densely populated.
Sorry, our representative Nicole Macri tells me that we were oversized by 22,700 folks. So that's how many we have to remove from the 43rd to bring us back into balance.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next map unless there's an objection to do so at this time. All right, next is the map submitted by Commissioner Graves, one of the House Republican Caucus appointees. This is probably the more, well, this map essentially proposes that the 43rd shift off its current base to encompass parts of West Seattle. So I'll be briefing the boundaries for the 46th district as it is proposed, as that'll concern voters in this meeting today. So essentially we're seeing as almost like a migration north of what the new 46th district would be, or from where it is currently situated as the current 43rd. Northern boundary would be the northeast 100th Street, northeast 105th. There's a small cut into northeast 103rd. In short, the northern boundary adds Maple Leaf, Wedgewood, and Sandpoint. The eastern boundary is completely geographic in nature. It's just the water boundary. Our western boundary is large portions of I-5, Westlake Avenue North, Mercer, Fairview Ave. There's a couple of one-block cuts. One includes one towards Boren and cuts out. This proposal also cuts out Green Lake from the current district. The southern boundary is East Olive Way, East Olive Street, Harvard, East Pine, East Olive Way again, 15th Ave North, East Any Way, East Thomas Street, 35th Ave East, East John Street, Madrona Drive, Howell, Evergreen Place, and that's those areas down there just south of Madison Park. Big changes to note on the southern boundaries. It cuts out downtown and First Hill entirely. Tara or Amy, anything to add on this map?
Yeah, I think there's a schmickel of downtown that is the only section of the 43rd that remains in the 43rd. Just also to note that you know, the whole Wallingford Fremont area goes in the 36, and as you said, most everything else goes into the 46 and some down into what's the green one, 37. But yeah, I mean, pretty much the only continuity would be for a very small group in downtown.
I see Holly Towns has her hand raised.
So this is, I mean, the picture you have is on the orange, but actually the 43rd is that pinkish section, right? With Queen Anne, Uptown, Belltown. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, and it shifts into West Seattle.
Totally, it pretty much makes us a whole different, a whole different district.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Most of the people in this meeting right here would be members of the 46th Democratic Party come this time next year.
Yeah, and that 43rd extends across the water to Bainbridge Island as well. This draft 43rd.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if you wanted to talk about that as well.
A lot of it's the 34th. It's like they just reversed the numbers.
Yep. Arvia.
Yeah, so can you, as you go through this, can you talk about the implications for our legislative delegation? Because if this type of thing went through, it would wipe out, you know, a lot of our legislators, right? And we'd have to re-elect everybody, or there'd be a whole new slate of people. Like Nicole Macri wouldn't be able to represent, she'd have to run in a new district.
I'm going
Right.
to talk about some of the map implications after we've presented the maps.
Because I guess I just want to get a feel for the most severe impacts. Like, you know, if I'm in the 43rd versus the 46th, so be it, I guess. But when I think about the whole legislative body, that seems more important than exactly which district I personally am in. I'd just be interested in your folks' analysis of that.
I think that might be again, a very protracted or very, very long conversation. I don't know if we have time. We're at 9:30 tonight, if that's okay. We can definitely happy to follow up with you after today and have a conversation.
I do have some overview points I want to hit on tonight, but I think we're going to try to present the maps first. But I'm happy to go into that whenever you'd like, Efrain.
Yeah.
This one's definitely the extreme map.
Yes.
Yeah. Kyle, we'll go ahead and then maybe we'll just go through.
It was just simply a follow-up on that this is clearly, you know, one of the ways to present this is who is presenting this map? Paul Graves, House Republican Caucus appointee. This is about dividing this district. Yes. Thank you.
Correct. I think you're you're on the right track there, Kyle. So Efrain, why don't you present the next two maps and then we can take questions on kind of the whole.
Can do. All right, this is Commissioner Walkinshaw, the second House Democratic Caucus appointee to the Redistricting Commission.
And for the record, a former 43rd representative.
Oh, I did not know that. This is why we have Tara. This is so northern boundaries on this one shift. You see that we maintain or retain Green Lake, but northern boundary is now North 65th Aurora Ave, West Green Lake Drive, East Green Lake Drive, Northeast 55th, 11th Avenue Northeast, and Northeast 50th. Eastern boundary is Montlake Boulevard here, and then shifts out to the geographical barrier that is the Lake Washington. Western boundaries are 7th Ave, Roy Street, Finney Way, Greenwood Avenue North, Dayton Avenue North, and southern boundary is Union, Pike, Pine, East Madison, East John. In this map, I'll note the most significant change that I noticed was it does cut out the parts of First Hill currently represented by the 43rd delegation today. Tara or Amy, anything to add here?
It cuts out Ravenna, and actually it cuts Fremont in half, which is something that in 2010 we had asked that Fremont be made whole, and this kind of takes that boundary right back to where it was. So that's a drawback. We do gain Belltown, which kind of, I mean, we have kind of a much more right here, but those are the other major changes as we go back to not maintaining Fremont as a complete neighborhood, and I'm not sure what's going on, what parts of Belltown we get. And of course, that big hunk of Ravenna.
And Amy, did you have anything to add on this one?
Saving my thoughts for after they're all up.
Okay. All right, unless there's an objection to so, I'm going to transition us to the fourth and final map. This one was submitted by the House Republican Caucus appointee, Commissioner Fain. Again, 43rd is displayed in the pink here. Northern boundary is now North 59th Street, Aurora Avenue North, North 82nd Street, then Roosevelt Way, Northeast 78th Street, 12th Avenue Northeast, and Northeast 75th Street. Eastern boundary is 15th Avenue North, 25th Avenue Northeast, Montlake Boulevard Northeast. Western boundary is Westlake Avenue, Fremont Avenue, and Greenwood Avenue. Southern boundary is East Madison, Spring Street, First Avenue. I guess I'll just turn over to Tara and Amy. Do you have any comments on this one?
Again, this one, it seems to be a common theme is to peel off Ravenna and the Northeast quadrant. Otherwise, it's kind of funky in the Wallingford Fremont border again. What is that? Yeah, it's cutting Fremont apart again. Guess where I live. That's why I'm a little touchy about that. But again, it's similar to the first map that we looked at in that it mostly cuts off the Northeast, and this one does retain more of where we currently are on Capitol Hill. Let me just point out that the kind of like, oh, did we lose the market in this one? Because that's been kind of a theme. Okay, the other, all right, this is the only one where we lose the market. Not that that really matters, but interestingly, in that Bainbridge Island one, that was the only section we were still holding on to that's currently in the 43rd.
Awesome. Okay. Well, then I'm going to turn it over to Amy, who's going to cover ways to get involved and what the schedule looks like moving on out. Thanks so much for your time and attention tonight, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. So want to kind of cut to the chase about the analysis here. As Tina Podladowski, state party chair, said today, it's clear from looking at the maps that the Republicans are pulling out all the stops to make this process as gerrymandered as possible. Both the House and Senate Republicans have drawn maps that will give them the advantage with elections. So this is where you come in. It is very powerful to submit personal testimony and to speak out as an individual. As you can see on the schedule, if the commission fails to come up with a plan that they agree on, the decisions on redistricting and where the lines go to the Supreme Court. And in that case, the Supreme Court is going to listen to what you have to say. They're going to be reviewing the testimony that you submit. So I'm going to go over a little bit how you can do that. There are 3 ways to give testimony. You can go to a redistricting commission meeting, and you should expect to have about 45 seconds, maybe up to 90 seconds to speak. So if you do speak, you need to have your comments clear, concise, and address your key issues quickly. And I am going to be sharing a link to a training video about how you can do that. And also sharing a sample letter that can help inspire you if you decide to write a letter. So yes, that's the other way. You can go to the meetings and testify. You can send a letter to the Redistricting Commission, or on the Redistricting Commission's website, you can draw your own map. So if you have strong opinions of what the 43rd community should consist of, you can go to the Redistricting Commission website, which is redistricting.wa.gov, and we're going to share this in an email. We're going to put it on the forum, and I'm going to post it into the chat here. But you can go to this website, you can draw your own map and submit it. And this is the website where you sign up for testimony, and this is also the website where you can submit written comment. It's incredibly important that you speak up. It's surprising how many people don't end up speaking up. So let's push for a district that truly represents who we are and who our community is, and push back against the gerrymandering. Scott, Tara, or Efren, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add here. Thanks so much, Amy.
Yeah, you know, it's like we all laugh at the one map that puts the 43rd on Bainbridge, but the commission really has to hear from people about what we think is the core of the 43rd and make sure that that does not happen.
Yes. And so I will just add really quickly, we've gotten a couple questions from folks wondering if we can put this info on our website and on the Facebook page. So Amy and Efren and Kelsey, I hope you all can work on that. Thanks for that. And just to reiterate what Amy said, we didn't dive into it. In Fane's map, the last one we looked at, we didn't see it, but that one also added Bainbridge Island to the 36th LD. And I think we all are aware that the 43rd is going to be represented by Democrats going forward, right? Like that, there is not a chance that a Republican will take over, but it does seem like they are trying to split off Bainbridge, which is also very Democratic, from the Kitsap Peninsula and allow them to maybe flip Emily Randall's seat in the 26th or some other seats across the state. So we absolutely need to comment. If the maps do go to the courts, which I think there's a very decent chance that will happen, they will be looking at the public record of what folks asked for in order to draw fair maps. So it is really important that we say things like, we don't think Fremont should be split in half again, or otherwise, to make sure that that's on the record and that they take that into account. I got a question in the chat, Amy, if there's a deadline for comment. Do you know the answer to that?
Yes, looking at the schedule here. You really, I believe the deadlines for the public meetings are, they're having the meetings on the 5th and the 9th. Shoot, it should be on the schedule, I'm sorry. Well, the deadline for the commission to submit the final maps is November 15th. I believe you can get comment in up until that, but I'm going to confirm that. The sooner the better, though.
Yep, agreed that the sooner the better. All right, Jeff, you have your hand up.
Yeah, my hand up was, as I'm assuming that our preference is either one of the two Democrat proposals, and I don't know enough about what was proposed to know which one is preferable to another. Does anybody know some pros and cons on those two proposed options that the Democrats brought forward?
Yeah, Amy, do you want to take that one, or I can?
Can you please?
Yeah, so I'll say the maps came out earlier today. They came out at noon today. So I personally have not had time to like dig too far into them. And I think other folks are digging into them as well. So we'll probably hear in the next few days more about, and we're just looking at the 43rd tonight, right? And we care about the impacts statewide. There are important decisions being made in Yakima. I don't know, Efren, if you could go to the Democratic maps real quick and just zoom out to the statewide. Because there are differences in the 43rd, but they really pale in comparison to the differences in Eastern Washington. So in this one, you see how the 14th loops all the way around the 15th, and there's this kind of, almost donut shape there. This is, I believe this is Commissioner Sims' map. There is in Commissioner Walkinshaw's map that is changed somewhat significantly, and that has repercussions for the Yakima tribe and for the people living over there. And those sorts of decisions are kind of replicated across the state. So while we're losing the most population, we're also losing the area. The potential difference is the smallest kind of for us in terms of the area. So we will forward any analysis that we see from folks. But what we were told by the redistricting committee at the state party level is that when you're providing feedback, don't identify as a Democrat, because that kind of tells them like, oh, we'll throw that away. Like, we don't want partisan, don't want partisan feedback. So just comment as a citizen and be really specific about your community. And that's kind of what we can ask for in the 43rd is, if you live in Fremont, which we saw split there, write them and say, I don't want my neighborhood split between two different LDs. I want it in one or the other or otherwise. So folks will need to take a look at the maps and then maybe say that maybe you don't need to look at the maps to know like we should keep Capitol Hill together and in the 43rd, I would say. So there are many avenues to provide feedback, but the more specific about geographic boundaries, the better. Arvia, and then we had another question in the chat as well that we'll get to. So Arvia, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, thanks for what you just said, Scott. I just think those pointers to the group after the analysis is done will be really helpful, like don't identify as a Democrat. What are the general principles that we want to emphasize? Because I don't know enough about this to really interpret this data and know all the implications, especially across the state. So some sample letters or sample comments, as much of that as you can give us, it'll be really helpful.
Okay, yeah, we will take that feedback and we'll work on putting something together. And the other thing that I will just say that you should emphasize as a general theme is ask for fair maps that ensure that the proportion of the vote that each party gets matches how many representatives they have in the legislature. We know of many states where that is not the case, right? Where Democrats win a majority and end up with 40% of the seats. And what Joe Biden got like 59% of the vote. We're looking for both of our legislative chambers to reflect that as well. I see Allison is asking for more time to discuss this at the October meeting. Yes, we will see if we can add that if possible. I don't know that we'll be able to get the commissioners to us. They were very busy and they are partisan, but I'm guessing that they don't want to be associated directly with political party meetings. But we will see if we can get some folks to come talk about the maps. And then
close to the comment deadline, the October meeting.
It is, yeah. So I guess we will see. I don't know exactly when our October meeting is. Third Tuesday. I haven't looked at it.
19th.
19th. Okay, so it is pretty close. We will certainly share something if there is an ask at that time. And then the other question that folks had in the chat earlier, which is a really good one, and which is kind of related to the map from Graves where the districts changed quite a bit. And the question was, what is the impact if the district changes a lot? Like, do we become the 46? What happens to like our organization and our bylaws? Do we move? Maybe what is the impact to our sitting representatives? Amy, do you want to go over that? I know the state committee has spent a lot of time talking about this.
I'm sorry, I was working on trying to get the links posted in the chat, so I missed the last part of what you said.
The question was mostly what happens if the 43rd does shift, really drastically, like we saw in that one proposed map. Like if the 46th comes down and the 43rd, is just a small portion of what it is, what would happen to our organization and our representatives?
Well, it would not be good. So one of the things that's so important about what's happening here is that we're going to have to run strong voter contact programs next year to make sure we're connecting with voters who are in a new district for the first time in a decade. So if things get completely changed, we're going to have to do a lot of work to bring the communities on board. So that's really the main impact. It's going to really hamper our get out the vote efforts and party building.
Yeah, it would certainly be a challenge. And I'll just share a couple things that, excuse me, that we do know from the state party. One is that if the maps change and essentially no matter what happens next year, our reps will be representing the 43rd district. Frank Schott, Nicole Macri, Jamie Peterson will be the reps for the 43rd throughout the next election cycle, regardless of where the 43rd might change underneath them. If the 43rd were, like, if that map that we looked at earlier was implemented, the state party has established rules, which essentially boil down to the organization and its assets move with the LD number. So that would shift over to downtown West Seattle, Bainbridge Island. Those of us in the 46th newly, or in the 36th newly, we would have the option of, and I say we, the PCOs who form the core and have special voting rights, they would be able to vote on whether to adopt the 43rd's bylaws and essentially become the 46th District Democrats, who are what are currently the 43rd District Democrats. It will be a challenge. There might be some LDs that do have to go through that, and we would need to figure things out. I will say, the 43rd is shrinking, so we are losing territory. I'm sure some of you saw that you would no longer be in the 43rd. You would become, if you're a PCO, you would become a member of the PCO of the new district as soon as that happens. For our board members, folks would stay on the board. They won't lose their position if they're redistricted out. And we're hoping that folks will be able to stick around and, as Amy mentioned, help us run a strong campaign in whatever the new 43rd is next year. But there would certainly be some shuffling going on there as well. And so that would all need to be figured out. There's another question coming, which is, do all of our reps live in the 43rd in all of the maps? I don't know the specific details. In the Graves map, absolutely none of them live in the 43rd. I know that in a couple of the other maps that adjust in Capitol Hill, it was close. I think in the Fame map that a couple of our reps might not be in the 43rd at that point. My thought from the two Democratic maps were that they did encompass the neighborhoods of all of our current electeds. Tara, were you going to add something there?
Yeah, on the Fame map, Frank Chop's definitely not in.
Yeah, and
I'm not sure exactly where the other two live at Capitol Hill.
Yes, I am not positive as well. So that is a concern, and I'm sure that they will also be voicing their concerns over that to the commission, because I think I certainly want to keep them all in the 43rd, so we can go from there.
Scott, if I can cover some really important information that I missed earlier.
Yeah, go for it. I was gonna wrap it up, but yeah.
Sorry. So I have a link to share with everybody to a form that you can fill out to be connected with the redistricting committee of the Washington State Democrats. So we can help you with your testimony. We can give you advice. We can give you pointers. And I apologize for not mentioning this earlier. This is all coming together because the maps just came out today. So I'm going to send Kelsey that link so she can post it in the chat. But please fill out this form if you're interested in helping in any way. You can sign up to submit a map, submit written testimony, get help with your testimony, and just get advice from the redistricting committee of the Washington State Democrats.
Yeah, thanks for that, Amy, and please do share that. So any last thoughts on redistricting for us? I appreciate everybody who's been able to stay late for us, and we will try and get this out to everybody in the district in the next few days.
Well, actually, you brought up one thing, which is when you're looking at the maps, the 43rd, but look at the neighboring districts and see what is happening. Like, are they trying to attach Bainbridge to the 36? And at least one of them, the 46, totally looks like a salamander, as they say.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I certainly had, it's very interesting to look at the maps. So I encourage folks to take a look yourself and kind of see everything that they're putting together. Heidi.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that that one map where the 46 goes over the top of Seattle, as opposed to, really reminds me of the Seattle Public School Directors map. Because it does that same thing where it has that wonky district up north. It's the only one that goes horizontal as opposed to north. You know, of having been redistricted once already, because I'm on the borderline, you know, to me, I'm fine if that area of Finney goes to Ballard. I have more affinity with that community, and I know a lot of my neighbors do than actually in Capitol Hill and Belltown area. I mean, we all gravitate more towards Ballard than we do Capitol Hill. So from that perspective, trying to keep that community together, Finney is just so split. I've been shifted more times than once, so it's fine either way. We're kind of in the middle. But I want to say that the other changes are just absolutely ridiculous, and the same thing for the 46th. I mean, that change is absurd, and I don't think on some of the maps, I think the 46 legislators are in the same boat as the 43rd. None of them would live in the new maps either, in some of those cases. So I think we have allies, you know, on supporting keeping neighborhoods together.
Yeah, and Heidi, that sounded like a great comment to give to the redistricting commission. So especially about, you know, the affinity between Finney and Ballard and that sort of thing. That sounds like exactly what the redistricting commission needs to hear about neighborhood specific feedback. Linda.
This isn't the first time it's happened to us. There was a 32nd district that was Finney Ridge that became part of the 43rd years ago. And one of the things we really have to look at is not whether or not our legislators are in a new district, but are they in a new district that pits them against sitting legislators in that combined district. That's the key.
Yep. And I think it's fair to say that the legislature will be very interested in that when they're considering whether to approve these maps. And I do think that the Republican maps attempt to pit Democratic reps against each other in a way that will not be helpful to us. So yeah, great points, everyone. Okay, so thanks for that discussion. I'm sorry that we got pushed a little later. Appreciate the folks sticking around. So moving to good of the order, we do have a guest, Jake. I cannot pronounce I don't want to mispronounce your name. So I will let you introduce yourself and the resolution you're planning to bring next month.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Scott. So my name is Jake Danis. I use he, him pronouns. And I used to be a member of the 34th back in the day, but I'm currently a member of the 37th and am working with our executive board to propose a resolution that would endorse the Duwamish Tribe's petition for federal recognition, which was revoked by the Bush administration back in 2001. Recently, the Martin Luther King Labor Council endorsed the tribe's petition, as well as Faith Action Network, 350 Seattle, the Seattle School Board, many more who are listed on the Stand with the Duwamish website. Even the Seattle Times editorial board endorsed the tribe. So I'll be officially presenting the resolution next week to our 37th executive board, and assuming we get a formal approval, we'll plan to share the resolution with the 11th and 43rd, should you be interested in joining us. In the meantime, if you'd like to stand with the Duwamish tribe today, you can sign the petition calling on our local elected representatives to acknowledge the tribe's recognition status. And I just shared a link with Scott, if you can maybe share it with the group so they can click on the petition.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jake, and look forward to discussing that next month. So yeah, thanks so much. All right, are there any other good of the orders that folks have? Any other good of the orders? All right, not or I did see a hand go up there. Allison.
Accidental, sorry.
Okay, sure, no problem. All right, so yeah, ballots are going to be out before our next meeting. We're going to be pretty active, so please do look out for communications to us. Let us know how you are able to get involved, and yeah, we will talk to you all soon. So really appreciate everybody's time tonight. Thanks. Good night, everybody.